Hello and welcome back. And as you can see, we've got a guest. This is the part where you say hi. Yeah. Yeah. So, oh, interesting. Probably worth doing that. I mean, I think we're live because we've got people chatting. So that is exactly what I was after. Yeah. So we've got a results stream. We'll say judges turned this around really pretty quickly, given that we only got the groups finalised on the 6th, I think. So a big shout out to them. And I wanted to start by just talking through judging and what happens and where and how it happens. So every group had 3 judges. Andre and I may get in the way of the chat for people watching on YouTube. Apologies. Each judge ranked those courses. Now, in most groups there were 4, 1 or 2. In 2 groups there were 5. So they ranked them 1 to 4 or 1 to 5. Now, not each group has the same number of points available, therefore, because first place got 4, then second place got 3, 2, then 1. So we have 0 nul point. So we're not doing that. But if it was a group of 5, then you'd get 5 first, 4th, second, etc., etc. And then if there were a tie break needed, I only bothered if it was for qualification, so like first and second or second and third, then it would be the number of highest place nominations by a judge. So if, let's say, two designers tied on 7 points, but one had 2 second place votes and the other only had 1, the one with 2 gets it. So that kind of took care of all that I needed to. So without further ado then, oh yes, a disclaimer. This is the important bit. 2 courses per group progress, but most importantly, if it is not your time, please don't be a dick. So remember that someone else also put a ton of time into the course that you think yours was better than. We all think, I have come second in so many contests where I've thought that I should have won it. Like, the other person put in a ton of time. Please don't make it all about you. Listen to the feedback, try and understand why. You may not agree with all of it, but it's worth listening to. And the judges, particularly this time around, are not morons, because the judges were you guys. So all of the tier 1 designers helped me out with judging. So they got assigned to groups they were not in, and they did a fantastic job. So now, but first of all, this is the part where Andre needs to not speak. It's unfortunate, but we lost some people. So forever in our thoughts. Anyway, Andre, you're back. I say you're back, but I can't hear you. Oh, I muted my computer as well. That'll be why. I know you can see me screen switching, Pithy. It's fine. So we've got group stages. So these were the groups that we came up with. Now I cut out. We were originally going to have groups of 5. Then we had all of those shameful people who did not publish. Andre was not one of them. Look at him, Yassi Moose, which maybe doesn't exist yet, and don't go and play it. But well done, Andre. It really is. So yeah, we had these groups. 2 of them go through, and there were some really tough ones, like really, really difficult. Andre did a bracket. Who did you have winning that, out of interest?
Great question. I think
Really. Whisper Song was good.
like 5.
I think so too, and that's the thing with World Cup is it's like utter chaos as well, and you'll see this with a couple of the groups. There are some that are just rough, and you can get a really easy ride to say semis, or you can have to run the gauntlet. Anyway, we can go with Group A first of all, and have a little look into that. Now that was Rhino, Honey Badger Hacker, Axel, and Andy Wave. Now the way this is going to work is I'm going to go through from 4th up to 1st and talk a little bit about each of these courses. Andre's going to add his comments as well. But I'm going to try to give you pros and not cons necessarily, but reasons why that course maybe didn't make the rank above. And just for fairness' sake, I don't really want, let's say, if you came second in a group with a great course and someone else won a group with a less good course, I'm still going to add some like things we're discussing, like some negatives, if you will, on the top ranked courses as well, just so we don't think that those are flawless. There's some judging is still going to happen. So Group A, coming in 4th, and bear in mind the 4th courses, like they're all still really, really good and well worth playing. In 4th, we had Narimba by Honey Badger Hacker. Andre, your thoughts?
I like this. Sandbell, kind of like Sandbell, but it had some green sites, just some weird golf going on. But it was one of my favorite.
And that was echoed. Yeah, that was echoed by the other judges. Like they loved the environment. It just got a bit busy in places. It was like a little over bunkered. The more restrained holes we really liked, but like I think there's a really good lesson there about playability and just like that trumps everything. But the environment was stellar, like really cool. One above that, and we have Wheatland Prairie Club from Axel von Fersen. So I'll take this one to start with. Like there was lots of really solid stuff here. It has strategy. It was a relaxing round. Like it was a nice plot. We kind of just felt it didn't. It could have taken more chances. Like be it with greens, contours, with strategy. There weren't all that many holes that you necessarily remembered or stood out to you after the round.
Yeah, I felt like this course kind of had like checklist. Tried to be good in the contest, and it wasn't a lot memorable. I liked it. It was still a
Yeah.
course. Yeah, top two.
And I think that was really what separated it between the second place one, which was Rockanji by Andy Wave. We just felt this one took more chances. There was more memorable golf. It still like could have gone bolder, and particularly the environment felt a little one tone. Could have brought in, say, Heather or the Sandy Dunes, things like that, a bit more. But it did a lot of really good stuff, and there's some strong holes out here, and it's a fun landscape.
I love this course. Like yeah, like you said, the environment, golf, really strong on this one. Really enjoyed this one.
And then disappointingly, that does mean that top of this group is Rhino with Anusti Hall. He did. He did. Congratulations to Rhino. Yeah, like there were lots of things we liked here. The greens, it was strategic. It was well executed for the most part. Like the look is, like, I mean, you should have this look dialed in by now. In terms of like a few things that a couple of judges didn't love as much, we felt trees and like water usage was a touch heavy-handed at times, and like some of the greens maybe got a little bit small and severe in points, but overall this was the clear top of the group. So going into that, this is how the points shook out. So 11 points for Anusti Hall out of a possible 12. Rockanji on 9, Wheatland Prairie 7. So that was a really close one. And then Narimba picking up the 3 points. But again, Narimba still a really good course. It's just that playability trumps everything. On to no, he's done. Yeah, he's very lucky. He's still got the game. Group B. So we had Grovey, Chantrays, who was our alt 1, wasn't even in the contest. Ducker with Trails at Smith Rock, and then Eastwood with the course that we're not going to say the name of because I don't know how to pronounce it. Okay. No, I mean we'll mumble through it. Coming in 4th, and it was Trails at Smith Rock. Andre, do you want to take this to start with? It's okay. I can do it if you want. It did. I think we really appreciated like the boldness and the ideas, and the plot was really cool. Like the big ideas are really cool. The key word that just kept coming up with judges was severity, and just it. It's not very friendly. There are times where it's just over strategizing and really forcing whole ideas that don't quite fit the land, and could have just used a bit more like careful play testing. But like, there's loads that we really liked here. And like that screenshot's beautiful. It just needed. No. I think just this is, and you'll see this time and again with the results. Like the ones that don't quite make it are either the ones that took the bold risks and they didn't quite pay off, or the ones that didn't take enough risks. And it's one or the other. Next up, and in third, it is the course whose name we cannot pronounce, Monancha, by Eastwood, something in Irish. We like it was nice. This is a good example of one that probably didn't take enough chances. Like the biggest chance I'd say was it being bunkerless, but I often feel that bunkerless kind of is a double-edged sword. It takes away one of your main like visual features and strategic features. And if you're going to do that, you've got to nail it. And this was nice. It was really enjoyable to play. It was a relaxing round. It, like kind of with Wheatland Prairie, it just didn't have that much that was memorable after the round, I'd say. Hmm.
But yeah, it was just really missing some things. Essentially the opposite of Smith Rock.
Yeah.
Enough risk, I would say.
But it was done well. And like I'd say the other thing with bunkerless is if you're going bunkerless, the rest of your environment has to be unreal and really different and unique. And we see some courses that do that in this contest. And this one's kind of just like a parkland, but without bunkers, and then you're just fighting an uphill battle. So coming in second in this one, and this was one where it was close. We had a lot of debates about this. Coming in second was Wheelbarrow Club by Trays. Andre, your thoughts?
I mean, nice to see the return of Trays, and his courses are always just so interesting, and I absolutely love this course.
Yeah.
I had it first in
the. Mm.
I mean, a really strong second. We knew when this course came out, this was going to be an all pickup.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and likely. Yeah. And likely all one from the very get-go. Like it was hard to see anything beating this. I mean, things that we loved about it, and this pushed Shepherd's Bay all the way. Like the environment is something that it just did a load of stuff we don't see with the terrain painting. Like he went full at it and nailed it and did some really creative stuff. The greens are nuts and almost all pay up. Like, they work really well. It's a ton of fun to play, super unique. Like he took a lot of chances. Like the little things that maybe held it back. To be honest, it was neck and neck. It's just for pretty much all the three of the judges. It was a few little bits of execution on like the par fours that switched different greens we didn't think worked quite so well. And like a couple of the greens were a touch severe. That's really all it was compared to Shepherd's Bay, which we think is like it's a top course in the contest, which leads us nicely into this one.
This is a beauty. This is one of my 5, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Got a shot winning ball.
Yep.
These courses are all
yeah. Yeah. There's not much more to say. Like he nails strategy without it feeling ultra strategic, which is a sweet spot that I don't always find. Certainly don't always find. But also like the planting's gotten better and better, and his transitions between environments were really good on this one. Just once you stepped out into those dunes, but it was just golden. So Shepherd's Bay took all 12 points, but it was a very close run thing between those. So those are our results. Moving on. So that means we end up with our first matchups. So Wheelbarrow Club from JC versus Rhinos Anusti, which is it's an amazing one. And then Shepherd's Bay takes on Rakanji as well, which will be also fun. I'm looking forward to playing both of those courses again. Into Group C. Now, this was one of the ones where we had all 5 published. Thank you very much, Andre, for making it. Yeah, what a guy. And this was also this was the group of chicken as well, because nobody published for ages, and then suddenly they all came at once. But a group that from the outset we knew was going to be top quality throughout, like Jizer, Pat, Finley, who that, and then somebody who's been around as long as Andre. You're not going to get weak stuff, and so it proves. Coming in 5th, unfortunately, it was Gassy Moose, which may or may not exist in PGA 25. I'm sorry, Andre.
Devastated.
This hole though was so much fun. Things we like. And we really liked a lot of this. The ragged kind of bunkers that you got going here looked really nice. The setting's unique. Planting's really cool. You took chances that maybe you haven't done before. That blind par 3 was awesome. And then equally the 116, that really simple one looking out to the lake, was done really nicely. Judges commented that what they really liked was when the green sites were a bit more varied. So 3, 9, 10, 16, there were lots of different, this took chances. This did not miss from that point of view. Probably a touch rush to fit the deadline, but we knew that. And we are also so delighted that you got it under the wire, because we need an Andre public.
Last make wanted to take some chances. Yeah, I knew not all of them were out, and I definitely need help on my insights, which you know that. And but at the end of the day, I know I'm not competitive, but I be a part of it. So thank you for letting me be.
Oh, buddy, anytime. And we also all know that none of us would be doing this if we hadn't had your tutorials way back when. So, enough said. Coming in one above, and this was Hudat's Commencement Bay. This was a really interesting one. In another group, this stands a really good chance of getting out. It's a really nicely done course, tons of elevation change. It was difficult, but still fun. Probably the things that held this back, it felt a touch repetitive with some of the tee shot ideas and approach shot ideas in parts. The environment could have maybe varied a little bit more. And I think the other thing a couple of other judges noticed, I'm not an expert on Chambers, but some of the hole designs were a touch close, which just leads you to think, coming up with the ideas is part of this. So just if that is your first inspiration, try and make it a bit more unique. But we really enjoyed this, and 4th is not a fair reflection on this course. It was really good.
No, it's almost any other. Probably except for. Yeah, I absolutely love the environment here. It was fun. That was the one thing I noticed too. It was
a little on the nose. Yeah. Yeah. On to the next. Coming in 3rd, and this was the toughest 3rd. So Finley's Lossiemouth, and we loved this one for a lot of reasons. The environment's awesome. He is, I swear, if he just used his 4 months really well, he'd be making it through comfortably. There's some lessons to learn about procrastination and leaving it late, but also I think for me it was partly just play test, and that probably comes from rushing it a bit. But the firmness and the narrowness were what really hurt this for me. It just felt a bit, the ball was bouncing everywhere, and when it's up against the top 2 in this group that it was, you can't make those mistakes. But it's a really cool course. It's lots of fun to play, particularly on the back 9 when he starts taking some more chances with the hole designs. I loved. So yeah.
Nicely planned.
Mm.
Some of the play, sure. Absolutely.
And I think one of the things that's also worth flagging about playability, I'm not totally sure, but like at a guess, if you play on one of the beginner difficulties or perfect swing or something, you're going to make harder courses because you have a false representation of what the game is. So just make sure you're testing on harder settings for weaker players and vice versa. So top two, and again, this one was not unanimous. It was really close. Coming in second, we had Jiza with his Camberdown. Andre, do you want to take this one first?
Well, I rage quit.
No. No.
That's not. That was just. That was me. This course was absolutely lovely. It was just classic Geyser, just
environment. Yeah.
The golf was so congratulations. The greens were just. I don't know. He just finds a way to be memorable golf courses without necessarily memorable environments. I would say still really nice, but just finds a way to these courses. So I'm very happy to see it.
Yeah, and I think that kind of speaks for all the judges. Like, love the understated nature. The fact that it felt like of all the courses in the contest, this felt most like a course that one of us might play. Some of the best greens in the contest came up again and again from judges, and just that playability of it having enough challenge but still being completely playable for a weaker player was awesome. Routing really cool. As you say, the reason that held it back was just, I think, and it's less that it's what's holding it back. It's more this is one where you had two first place courses in a group, basically, and it's probably more talking about Whispersong, and it just that environment does more heavy lifting. The type of golf allows for those slightly more memorable shots. For a number of the judges, it just did the environment so well. The whole designs were really thought through. There was a ton of detail work. It was kind of just that environment that lifted it a little bit above.
Yeah, it's just one of those real memorable golf courses. Great location. I mean, yeah, like, it looked very. God, I'm blanking on the Sweetens.
Yep.
Like that kind of feel to it, without like it off. It was.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about this course that this one I could see doing. Oh.
I think so too. Like, and it was two. Yeah. It was like 1A and 1B, and this was really. It was difficult to choose between. And there were a couple of groups where that was the case. And as you can see, it wasn't totally unanimous. So Whispersong with 14 out of the 15, Camberdown with 12, and then Lossiemouth 10 points and finishing third, like tough. And then Commencement and Gassy Moose, like 5 and 4 is like just because the other courses are so good and picking up all those points. So yeah.
I'm fine with 4.
Yeah, 4 was good. There we are. Yeah, we will take that. On to Group D. So we had Mad F. This was the group of all the sandbelts. So Karangal, Turanga, which I think I put on the judging form as Toowoomba. I've blanked on the name. Tanner's Pescadero Point, and then Mr. Mustard from Australian, which was one of our alts that got through. And this was another group that was like, when I started judging the groups, usually if I'm sitting down with, say, 8 groups, like to me, 6 of them will be obvious and I can rank them immediately. This time it was totally the reverse. There were like 2 that I thought were obvious, and even then one of them wasn't. And like every group, there was like, I was splitting 2 of them that were really tight. And the same was true with this one. So coming in 4th, and like it's a tough 4th. Again, 4th on any of these groups is not a bad thing. And that was Turanga by Seb. Probably suffered a little bit from being a sandbelt in a contest stacked with them. We really liked the front 9 and the variety. We thought the environment was really well done for the sandbelt course. Like, it was memorable and kind of unique with that. The scaling gets a little bit off, back 9 ideas, and like the thing that particularly kind of dropped this one down to 4 was that what if you can't hit your perfect drive to position A1? Like, what then? And that was where it started struggling a bit more.
This was probably Sam's best.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, it was just like so many sand belts in this contest. This one had a harder time sticking out, but still, I played through this one a while ago, very much. So this is again just another tough group.
Yeah.
Well,
like yeah. I'd say the general level in this contest has been higher than in previous ones. There's no weak courses anymore. Everyone knows what they're doing. So going to third, and again, kind of suffering from the Sandbelt vibe. We had Carringale by Matt, which I'd say is one of Matt's best courses. When I dug in with this one and the course that finished just above it, it was really tough because this one, the thing that judges really liked was it was solid. It was technically really well done. Like, it looked pretty. It did a lot of good things. The thing that ultimately separated this one was it didn't really feel like it took that many risks or like stood out in terms of the environment in a contest full with different sandbelts. But also mainly it was like the playability side, and tee shots felt kind of autopilot. It needed a bit more land movement or bunkers in more strategic locations or harder greens or something. It just kind of became a bit point and shoot. And then the thing that when I was really trying to split these two courses, the thing that leapt out to me when I started counting was there were 16 of the 18 greens that had a false front or bunkers dead in front of it. And that immediately forces you to play an aerial approach. And it just, little things like that were ultimately just added up. It's still a really good course, and it sucks to put this third, but that was where the decisions mainly came from.
Interesting. Yeah, this was my first kind of real surprise, I would say, because I had this one first. That's one of Matt's best, definitely Matt's best course.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that you could see that, sounds like
it really was.
All just kind of adds up.
It was when we enjoyed playing. We enjoyed playing a lot the first time, and after multiple plays, it just felt more repetitive than the one that came in second. And this was tight. So, Mr. Mustard from Australian. Now, this is kind of the reverse of this, like totally unique environment. Took a load of big swings, and they didn't all pay off, but it was more memorable, and it did a lot of those sorts of things really quite well. It was fun. It was like occasionally overly wide. That's kind of why it's not placing higher. The technicals aren't all there. There's some bunker sculpting stuff, but you remembered a lot of the shots from it. 100%. And like, I've no idea where this environment is, but it's really cool, and I want to visit.
That's cool. Real fun. There's a CC con there out here for a few weeks ago. Absolutely fun.
Yeah.
Playing it multiple times, like so. Big fan of this, and I'm happy to.
Love the pithy comment. Good spot on Cluedo. And that means in first, and this one also was kind of in the conversation of like second or third, because this one is not without its flaws. So like 1, 2, and 3 we were discussing between us. Tanner's Pescadero Point has a lot of really, really good things, particularly on the front line. You can then also tell it gets a little bit rushed towards the end, but some of like when it hits well, it's really flipping good. The bunkering is stunning. Like, this green site is probably my favorite in the contest. Like, the whole ideas, particularly on the front, were great. Some of the planting and detail work, it needed more. And I know being rushed for time is like possibly a reason, but equally we had 4 months, so like you probably had that. But nevertheless, like, topping a group is great. So it is like it's done a lot of really good things to get there, and like that front nine is, if it, yeah, one of the best front nines in the contest. It's awesome.
I had this one. It's inconsistency. I didn't have it make because I thought it fell apart. But I mean, you look at the screen sight, and you look at the front nine, just some incredible there. But I mean, I'm definitely happy again. It's a great course, and once I'm sure he's probably going to this at some point publish it. But
he often does.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see this for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is yeah, like I said, that so good. Oh, second hole.
Yeah.
There's like the backdrop. It's just like
there's a lot of really good stuff. And it's a good example of one that took a lot of chances and therefore kind of gets credit for trying stuff, even if it doesn't necessarily always execute it as well as it could do. So Pescadero ended up, all judges put that top, but it was not without discussion. Then we had Mustard on 8, Carringale on 6, and Turanga finishing up with 4. So those go through, which lead us to our next set of fixtures, if you will. So Mr. Mustard goes up against Whisper Song, and Pescadero Point goes up against Camberdown with Geyser. So 2 good matchups. Speeding swiftly on, because Andre has to get away at some point, so do run away if you need to. Group E, we had Q, Charlie, Jicken, and Waldo. This was another really tough one for me to judge, because kind of all of these courses felt like they did such different things, and like it was almost what do you value most and what do you like mistakes do you value least, etc. But we did our job. We've got some rankings for you. So coming in, unfortunately, 4th, and this was one that I adored when it was on CC, and I loved when it was published, and I played all my CC rounds on stream and raved about it, and it's a ton of fun, and it doesn't deserve to finish 4th. Jicken's Cahuilla was just lovely. It's a really, like, we don't get enough step courses and desert courses. We like all judges liked the environment, thought it was fun to play. It was really relaxing, and it worked so well as a CC course. Where it kind of fell down a bit was just compared to the other courses in the group, it didn't really have that strategy to make you think as much. And kind of part of why it worked so well on CC was because you could hit it anywhere and it didn't really matter. And in a contest like this, that works against you a little bit more. But it was a really good course that, like, it was in the conversation with all of them. Like, it was one of those groups where they were all similar levels, really.
This was a tricky group. Not surprised to see it for us, but also like, I got a soft spot for step course.
Yep.
Step course. To see this one in the competition, it was such a clean step course, and like trying to plant the step course. I thought very well.
Yeah.
But got a little, June kind of thing, a little bit. I played this 4 rounds as well, and so
it could have probably used one. Yeah, it could have probably used one more big feature, like a creek or a river or a cliffside or something, and that probably would have been enough just for vary.
Yeah.
But I understand, like, you stick to your vision. In 3rd, and again, close run thing. This one was Kinnikinnick by Waldo, which there was so much about the golf that we loved. It was really fun. It was engaging. Like, you had some really bold shots. It just ultimately kind of felt a bit unfinished, and it was very wide. You could also kind of hit it anywhere sometimes, but when it was, and it could have used more of these like little jaunts into the trees when it got really good. And I think this one's like, I don't know, a month away from making it to the top 2. Like, it just needed a bit more time and like editing, I guess.
Yeah, this was a this course was tricky for me. I found like just I really enjoyed it. I think that this one. I was gonna say for this one, so
it was very wide open out on the cliffs, and
mixing this course up with it. So
okay.
Yeah, okay. So I really like a lot of the slopes in the green.
Kind
of rolled on, like ground game. Love ground game here.
Okay.
Didn't feel like they stuck out for environment wise. I mean, using it though, of course, so that's
Yeah.
something there. But again, just amazing course. The quality of these.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure, it probably snuck out.
It was.
Out of it.
Yeah, and you'll see from the points, I think this group was closer than some others, if I'm not misremembering. Coming in second, then, we had Q's Kaleidoscope Ridge, which was a really unique setting. There were some very cool golf holes on there as well. Like, we enjoyed a lot of them, particularly kind of the longer holes offered a ton of decisions. The way it routed around this plot, so you kept coming back to this lake at different times, was quite cool. As well, like, I think where the bunkers were used, they were really good. There were a couple of hole designs that didn't work quite so well, and maybe just sometimes simple is good enough. The rock mounds in the fairway generally, I think, hurt more than they helped. And yeah, like, but there were judges that had this first, there were judges that had this second, and it kind of came down to the, do you prefer the, like, and some of the hole designs were pretty severe as well if you missed your spot, and sometimes felt overly so. So, like, that was kind of where we went, versus the one that finishes up in first, which is Sorrento Bluff. And I guess this one's kind of the reverse in that this didn't take as many chances, but it executed everything very safely, and it did a lot really well.
This was a strong course. I mean, Charlie's a guy that's just, he keeps getting better as he ages. Is he a team?
I think so,
anyway,
yeah.
He's definitely his craft. Tell this one was very well thought through. I think I maybe had a course flipped, but
yep,
I saw both. Definitely. Congrats, Charlie.
Yeah.
It's a very good course.
And I think it's another one where we had a 1A and 1B, but then with others kind of in that conversation as well, but it ultimately tied it down to these two. And in terms of points, like, it ends up, so the points look really exaggerated because I didn't trust that Tanner was going to do his judging in time, so I asked Wes to do some judging as well for me, and they ended up both. And Tex, being the legend that he is, did an extra round of judging for me, so that's why I then included both their scores. Happily, we'd have ended up with the same results regardless, but it made sense to have them all. So yeah, like Waldo finishing just 1 point off, like, it's close, and yeah, and Kahuya getting 7 points, like, shows that it's better than just like your average fourth place course. Sadly, that's E. On to F. F, we have Petty, Nitro, Saucy, and Victory Lane Sports. Another vet who showed up. So it's awesome to see these guys who were legends when I even started doing this, like, what, 6 years ago. So yeah, grizzled vets, crazy stuff. Anyway, and coming in fourth, it was the grizzled vet who is just keeping up. But this was a really cool course. I enjoyed it. It had a very big plot. It did need more single pines, more sailboats, definitely. I think this was a one where the plot size ultimately caused the issues because it limited what you could do with planting, and it just meant some of the holes were kind of sprawling. And like, just tightening everything up, I think would have saved, like, helped so much in that initial set.
Same comments there. It's way too hot. You can tell he ran that meter. But yeah, I mean, this is a course that, again, 3-4 years ago, back when Victory and I were bumping out,
doing this full time, yeah.
It's gotten so much more. So I'm sure both of us will take our.
Yeah. Oh, he'll be back. He's already signed up. Has he signed up for CC? If not, do it.
Beautiful.
Next up, coming in third. This one was close. French Island by Nitro. Again, like being a sandbelt in a contest with loads of sandbelts, it's tough to stand out. However, this one did a really nice job with the coastal sort of setting. And it had the little river running through it, which we thought was executed really nicely. Planting, like probably, there were a couple of really good sandbelt environments. This was right up there with Cape Mornington. I think Pandas having like the best sandbelt environment, we thought. In terms of things that just made it miss, like some of the hull designs weren't quite at the level of some of the others. The scaling gets a bit off in places. There's some really memorable hulls, and there's some that are slightly less. So it was fine margins, really. But there's so much to like here. Mm.
Sandbelt tournament.
Yeah.
Just felt.
And it is tough when you have that great idea and everyone else has the same one, and you can't really legislate for that. It's just, but that's kind of where whatever idea you have to just make sure everything is like, how am I making this super memorable? Like particularly in World Cup where it's like so much a visual contest. Just squeaking by, therefore, was Saucy and his C1 Hacker Club, or however you say that. We're not asking Rhino. Now, this was the very first main field publish and did a really good job with it. Like, it's a cool look. I think hull designs, there are some absolute stunners there. Like this one we're looking at, I want to say is 6. 4 was a really cool one playing out to the coast as well. You then go to that jaunt to the island, which grew on me the more I played this. I think where this one, for me, slightly outranked French Island was like more of the holes were hits for me, and like there were more that were slightly memorable. And yet it does have some missteps, and there were other judges who didn't like who felt that some of the templates weren't nailed as well, which I can kind of see. Like the narrows is a little heavy-handed, things like that. I think also you probably could have benefited from like there's a really good lesson of just sit on your course, because I think a lot of this you'd have edited if you hadn't published within the first 2 months. But
this course came out, it started mine.
So yeah,
this one was felt like a long time ago, but
yeah,
really cool. That it was a fun environment. But yeah, probably could have used a couple more months of polish.
Yeah,
like probably would have been first in the group.
Could well have been, because first was Kenai Meadow from Eddie. We really liked lots of this, like the big picture routing of where it takes you across the plot's really cool. How he uses broad features and like front to back greens without them feeling overly repetitive. Like, yes, there's a few of them, but they're all there for reasons and they enhance your strategy. Like, I think he could probably do with learning how to weather the grasses, as he now knows. But the terrain painting was really cool. Like, Petty can crank out a great course in no time whatsoever. For me, I also would have loved to have seen some more short par 4s, because I think that's what he does best in the game. But like, it's a really cool course. It was, I hesitate to say a comfortable first, but it was the clear first in this group.
Yeah, I don't know how he does. Here comes the course and blows everyone. It's like Mind of a Serial Killer. It seems to work. It's
what he does.
First place.
Exactly. So that leads us with Petty, therefore, goes up against Q. So Kenai Meadow against Kaleidoscope Ridge. And C1 Hacker goes up against Charlie and his Sorrento Bluff. In what will be two, like, those will be two really interesting ones. Right. This one. So this group, I mean, it hasn't cost me sleep, obviously, but euphemistically, it's that kind of group. Like, this was impossible. And so a huge thank you to the judges who helped me talk through this one, because I chatted a lot with them about how to rank this, where we're putting it. Like, all 4 are awesome, and so I absolutely hated the fact that we would end up with 2 of these not going through. Like, you have some 4 completely unique courses, and then you have Bunny doing bunny things and pulling off mental golf shots. Matty doing Matty things and also making stuff that's just crazy. Scottish putting out his best ever. Crizzy putting out his best ever, as well as creating the best environment in the game, bar none. And you came out with a group that's just impossible to judge without feeling bad. And so we actually ended up with ties in this group. So in tied third, because I wasn't going to split anyone who was third or fourth, like particularly in a group where we have like 4 great courses. I'm not if I've got an out to not put someone fourth, I'm going to take it. So joint third, sorry. Aberlady Castle by Bunny. Like, it took so many chances. The 18th is one of my favourite 18ths, I think, in the game. It's just hilarious. The first is mental, and it just sets the tone. There are a ton of little bowl pins. The 10th, that par 4 way out on the cliff that you can drive, like about a 410-yard hole. I've made a tap-in eagle on that hole. I've also made a 6. Like, it's just the way he takes shots that should be impossible to pull off and makes them playable and really fun is just admirable.
This course was on crack.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
I could have saw it getting through.
Yep.
It's also could have seen it get past. It's just, I was really curious how it did. So it was just, I absolutely love this course. But
and honestly, it's not even that. It was like we had to pick the best 2 of 4 really good. Like in another group, this gets through easily. As does our other 3rd place course, which is really harsh, and it's Crizzy's Isfjord Links, which is also awesome. Like the environment is so good, and carry. It's just like you could look at this forever. Like, it's the detail work on that little river, the icebergs, like how he did the terrain painting. I just hate that this has also not quite got through. Ultimately, the thing that separated these 2 was the consistency of the hole designs. With the top 2 were just that bit better. Like, they didn't have a weak shot or a weak hole, and they also had really good environments, and therefore that's always going to that's what carried it. Crizzy's golf is better than it's ever been. He went bunkerless, and it didn't feel like the course needed bunkers, which is, we said it earlier, you have to have a hell of an environment to pull that off, and this was that. It then did so many things we've never seen with the environment before. The golf was generally good. It didn't always do, like, if you compare this to, I don't know, I hate saying it in the same group, but Baffin Inlet is a similar kind of environment. Baffin takes more chances with the green sites and the contouring around them, and that's what elevates it, really. We then also had a tie for first in this group, and that was our only tie for first. And we had one course with more first place votes than the other, and that was what separated it. But both ended up on exactly the same number of points. This group was also, speaking to the 4 courses being super close together, this was the group with the most volatile judging. Like, there was no unanimity amongst judges with this group because it was just so hard to call. So coming in second, and it is Baffin Inlet from Matty from Canada, which feels unbelievably harsh on a course that I love and is awesome, and it was so hard to separate these. Andre?
Interesting result, yeah. But I can see it.
That's
incredible. This course, this is a CL.
Yeah.
And it was something I haven't seen much. Matty tends to keep his environments relatively but stunning. This one was just ground. Had so many cool touches, just some wild greens.
Yeah.
Just such fun. Maybe
and that's it. Like, we're also at this point splitting between what I believe are 2 of the very top in the contest that just happen to be in the same group, and it's just like there's going to be a loser and you're going to feel bad about it. And this one got just edged out by number of first place votes. the green sites, as you say, are just wild, really interesting, loads of variety. Like, I don't really want to go into nitpicks on this course because there really aren't many. And like, yeah, it was just it's not even 1A and 1B, it's like 1A and 1A star, or however you want to, like, we were splitting hairs by the end. Which means that winning this group is Solanus Valley by Scottish. The main reasons I think that slightly put this like, it's not even put this above, like, his bunkering was amazing, the Barranca was amazing, the whole designs and the routing generally, like, it did everything so well. Like, there's very little out here that you wouldn't change. It's also easy, like easy enough that everyone can enjoy it, but can be made a bit more difficult if you need to. Like, it nailed that sort of playability, and again was just that super creative environment. That's kind of where we came down. Yeah.
Just look at that screenshot. That's
Mm.
it's,
Mm.
like it's
But
such a fun environment.
And it was then used really well, like throughout the course in different ways. Yeah. And I know that people addressed like, oh, it wasn't as planted in other areas. Like, this sort of course, it's kind of like a parkland in certain areas. There's not a ton of under tree planting that I think we get used to because designers always do that. That's not necessarily underplanted. There are parts that, like, you could argue do need more planting, but I think I saw a lot of criticism of that I don't necessarily agree with. So yeah, that was our, like, the group of death ended up at 9 points, 9 points, 6 points, 6 points. Like, just there you are. And even
Spicy.
yeah, super spicy. Which takes us into Group H, and that's Panda.
Right, I got 5 minutes. Let's rip through this one.
We will do.
See the results of this one.
Panda, Pithy, Malahan, Tropic, Granger. Coming in fifth, and I think he knew that this was underfinished. Granger's Manzanita Club. The bits that were really done well and had simple ideas were the ones that were the best. Like, the coastal park got a bit too gimmicky. The transitions to environments could have been a little bit neater. There's a lot of good stuff. I think he knows he ran out of time, like we talked about it separately. So, but yeah, like, still lots to enjoy. And again, it's a really cool course.
Realistic.
Yeah.
Realistic. Yeah, like you said, it kind of was a slide.
In fourth, we had Metatropic with Brandywine Trails. There's lots about the plot that we loved. It was bold. It did a lot of cool things. This is a good example of one that swung for the fences and tried lots of different ideas. They just didn't all quite work. Like, it got a bit kind of similar to Ducker's Trails at Smith Rock. Like, the whole designs get really severe. Like, if you look at this par 4, it totally slopes away from the bunkers, then the green slopes away the other side. It's just like, at times we got to just help the player a little bit more. But the bunkering, when it was good, was like really, really good. There's a ton to like. Like, just, I think part of this is also like, if you do a load of LiDAR courses, you're not flexing those whole design muscles quite as much, and that I think shows a bit.
That's what I noticed too. Like you said, severity and it's a little too wild.
Yeah. Coming in third, and this one was debated about for the top 2 as well. We loved the environment. This was unique. It was interesting look on the kind of sandy coastal course. Like, the planting's superb, and just really, like, it's enjoyable to play. Ultimately, probably could have taken a few more chances with hole designs. A lot of it was like, actually sometimes, but equally sometimes when the holes were trying to be less difficult, they were better. So, like, when it stopped awkwardly pinching fairways. But it's just like, keep going deep on what makes interesting golf, and like, that's really the difference with this one.
But yeah, I mean, this was a course I would probably hire personally if I were Jeff. I see the reasons for I had felt it's just a strong.
It is, yeah.
saw this one potentially sneaking, but
it was in that conversation. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you look at the two above it, you kind of can see it the other way. Like Mornington by Panda comes in second. Like he's had obviously he's had the game longer than all of us, but like what he can do with the environment was great. We didn't necessarily think the environment and the plot itself felt like it lent to a couple of repeated ideas, which is why it's maybe not a bit higher. But the technical stuff's spot on. The environment's great. There's some really interesting holes that kind of force you to make decisions. Like it does everything very well, and that's why this ends up where it does. And it looks great. It did, yes. It was. It was really enjoyable, and still will continue to be. And finishing it up, and like this is I wouldn't even say a sleeper because I think everyone knows how good it is, but like this course is just great. Pithy went the links route, didn't do pot bunkers everywhere, did his own kind of pot bunkers that were arguably better. And like I think as one of the judges put it, they just got bored of typing "this hole's a banger" on the back nine because it was just like it's class hole after class hole. It's really interesting. This is one I fully expect to go deep. Yeah, just loved.
Yeah, this was one where someone was fond of this course as others. Maybe I get it. Like, yeah, this was my early favorite. May still be.
Yeah.
Just so good, so much fun. Interesting take.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's also like a couple of years ago we'd have said Pithy's like off course work might have been a weaker aspect of his design. Definitely not true anymore. Not here. Which means we end up with, and again, like not unanimous, but 14 points for Slane's Point, 12, then 10. Like Malahan's really close. That then means we lead to Cape Mornington goes on to face Scottish's Los Salanos, and Slane's Point Links goes up against Matty from Canada and Baffin Inlet, which is an absolute brute of a tie. So that's what we end up with. I'm just going to hide Andre and myself so that you can see this. You shoot, buddy. An absolute pleasure. See you later, Andre. So we end up with Anusty Hall versus Wheelbarrow on the left, going on, and this is how the bracket works out. So you can see where these are all going. Whisper Song and Mr. Mustard, so winner plays that. Then you get the bottom left, Sorrento Bluff, C1 Hacker, Solanus, and Cape Mornington. Then over on the other side, Pescadero, Camberdown, Shepherd's Bay and Rakanji is a tough top right corner. It doesn't get any easier bottom right, where you've got Kenai, Kaleidoscope, Baffin, and Slane's Point. So there we have it. It is going to be an absolute bloodbath. As Andy Wave says, there's a load of really good courses that are not quite making it through. And like commiserations to all of you. Like it doesn't mean you built a bad course, just means there were some that we rated slightly higher. And hopefully the feedback will make sense. Some groups were brutal. Now, I will have further notes for everyone, and if you want them, I will get them to you so that you have those. However, if you are also, please bear in mind that there is only one of me and that you are one of, say, 18 who didn't make it through. So just like if you want a long, in-depth conversation about why yours didn't make it through, just bear in mind that there's lots of those and it would take up a ton of time. But yeah, that's us. So that is a World Cup of Design group stages. Like, yeah. Now, in terms of timings, I've asked judges to get those ties sorted by Sunday night. I will try to do a stream again for probably round of 16 and quarterfinals, and then final four might be separate, but I'll it depends on how quickly judging goes.